You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time.
I've had like 5 minutes of the intro music and the about to start music to get ready, and my hat is a mess and my headphones are a mess. But that won't stop me from doing an awesome job on this podcast. Before we get going with some news, which literally just broke about 2 minutes ago, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, the TikTok channel, the X, formerly known as Twitter, the Instagram, all the good stuff. Make sure you like this video if you're here live, if you're not here live, and if you haven't signed up to Patreon yet and you want to, patreon.com/Go Time Dolphins. All the information is there. We will get to all of that good stuff. But Mr. Charlie Touche, how are you?
It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. What's the news, Kadeem?
So the Dolphins have added to their practice squad, but some guys haven't made the practice squad. And one of those people who hasn't made the practice squad is friend of a podcast, Trill Williams. So Trill Williams is not returning to Miami as of yet. Neither is Robbie Chosen or Aubrey Miller. So this per Barry Jackson. So the Dolphins signed tight end Nick Bowers, defensive tackle Rashard Lawrence, wide receiver Rayleigh Webb, and defensive end Chase Winovich. Also, other guys or the practice squad at the moment: running back Darrington Evans.
Darrington Evans.
He spelled Evans wrong. Former Pats guard Chasen Hines, Joshua Kalu, the Titan safety, and obviously we know of the Braylon Saunders, the Alama Uluwave, Tanner Connor, Ethan Bonner. But yeah,
Cameron Good, Randy Charlton,
Deshaun and AJ Johnson. Yeah, but no Trill Williams. What do you make of that?
All right, so NFL teams can keep 16 players on their practice squad. Teams can elevate 2 practice squad players per week to the game roster, and each player can be elevated 3 times before the team would require them to sign them to the 53-man roster, i.e. see River Craycraft or Craycraft 400 last year, as we call them here on this podcast. When you keep 10 corners, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it says something. And then there's like 2 more corners on this out of the 16 that was signed. And then you only have 3 safeties active. I think you're bringing back McKinley. So maybe the knee didn't recover as well as we would have liked it to when it comes to friend of a podcast, Trill Williams. He's still a Trill one with us. We actually have the social media team working on that with a post for Trill Williams. And speaking of a post and the social media team, Kadeem, I want to say 2 years now. It's about 2 years ago. I was at their air show off of Fort Lauderdale Beach. And, you know, it's once a year, and the air show has all type of fighter jets and all type of planes and helicopters and Coast Guard. And, you know, they fly over the beach, and the city comes out and watches this event. And I was there, and I was kind of walking on the beach, and I was like, you know, it's kind of hot. All right, cool, get a drink. And I was headed to the bathroom. And on my way to the bathroom, I seen someone who looked like I was just like, yo, I think I know this dude. I thought I went to high school with him. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, do I know this dude or do I not know this dude? You You know what I'm saying? So I walked past him. I wasn't sure if I knew him or not, but they do look familiar. So while I'm headed to the bathroom, I'm waiting for the person who I was with, and we're chilling, and I'm like, nah, bro. I think that person was Myles Gaskin. And I'm headed back because I got to go back to the beach, and I'm headed back to the place where I was chilling on the beach for the air show. And I'm thinking, how am I gonna say, hey, bro, is your name Myles Gaskin? You know what I'm saying? And I had to figure out a way. I don't know. So I walked up to him, and he was kind of preoccupied. And I didn't want to just say, hey, bro, is your name Myles? Are you Myles Gaskin for the Dolphins? So I had to hit him with hey, does 40 acres and a Hellcat sound familiar to you? And he's like, what? And I was like, does 40 acres and a Hellcat sound familiar to you? And he started laughing, and he was like, yeah, man. And I was like, bruh, it's nice to meet you. You know what I'm saying? I got a Miami Dolphins podcast, bro. It'll mean the world to us if you could come on and chop it up with us. And he said, yeah, take my number down. Cool, no problem. Didn't get a picture with him, though. That's crazy. Like, I didn't even think to get a picture with dude. So for about maybe 4 or 5 days, you know what I'm saying? I think I don't know if I told you right away, Kadeem, or not, but for about 4 or 5 days we were texting. Me and Miles were texting and trying to get a date right for him to come on. And he came on the podcast. This is before we had a YouTube, before the podcast was what the podcast is now. We got him on the podcast, and dude went out of his way for us to come on to the show. And like Kadeem eloquently put it, the first friend of the podcast was Myles Gaskin. And just to update, Myles Gaskin was released by the Miami Dolphins, and we were so sure that he was going to be on the practice squad. We just knew he was going to come back to the locker room. But before he could make it back to the locker room, the Minnesota Vikings signed him. So Myles Gaskin, 40 acres and a Hellcat, is officially a Minnesota Viking. And bro, I ain't gonna lie, I felt some type of way, bro. What did you think when Myles ended up on the Vikings?
Before we do that, got a whole bunch of comments, so it would be remiss of us to not shout out everyone in the comments. Lee, how's it going? JML, howdy. IMAX, as always, here. How are you? Kenna Rankin, howdy. Giovanni Folk, good evening or good day. Tyler TV, evening. And then you got the cads in the eyes, because we did say next time we recorded we're going to wear the Jamaica shirt. And so, yeah.
Bruh, I'm looking at mine right now. You don't even have yours on. So mine is right there. You know what I'm saying? So that's on you.
Yeah, this is on me. I could maybe ask Hannah Montana to get it for me if I knew where it was. But my Jamaica shirt. Yeah, that ain't coming anytime soon.
You know what? We'll rock it on Monday. That way she has to come back again and see us, check us out on Monday.
100%. Moya TV says what's up. And then Lee says Gaskin never gave less than 100, and it's true. It's Gaskin obviously has a fan in the Vikings locker room, coaching staff, in former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. And as Brian Flores says about Myles Gaskin, he was the epitome of a Miami Dolphin. So obviously the Vikings lost Dalvin Cook. I'm not saying that Myles Gaskin is in any way going to replace Dalvin Cook like that, but I think for everyone who was so sure that Gaskin would be gone, Gaskin had value in this league. He's obviously been picked up straight away. It was like, and I think you mentioned it as well. When Gaskins didn't make the 53-man roster, I think it was Adam Schefter tweeted it out, and it's like he doesn't tweet out about random people not making the roster. This is quite significant, and he obviously got picked up. So yeah, it's over here at GTD. It's a sad but happy day that Myles Gaskin is no longer a Miami Dolphin. It's sad because obviously he was the first player to come on the podcast, really take us to another level. But at the same time, he's able to hopefully go and showcase himself in Minnesota, in the NFC, and hopefully that goes amazing. yeah, Charlie, she disappointed with both. With
Yeah,
both of us.
I seen that, and I'm gonna just put a button on the Miles Gaskin talk real quick. Again, like we the social media team threw out a thank you post for Miles Gaskin. He responded to us. I screenshotted the text message, sent it to Kadeem, and again, he's a human. You know what I'm saying? So he gets to live on, carry on his dream in Minnesota. Obviously, as fans, we would like him to be in Miami forever, but that's not what time it is. But yeah, man, again, just want to thank Miles Gaskin one more time for being the first friend of the podcast, coming on the Go Time Dolphins platform and helping us out significantly. And bro, like, yeah, man, you're always gonna be 40 acres and a Hellcat for us here at Go Time Dolphins. Kadeem, before that thing times out, let's get this out of the way real quick. We have a Go Time Dolphins fantasy football league, and we have all the teams already together. If you could go to LM Tools, Kadeem. So what we're gonna do is we're up top. It says LM Tools, kind of in the middle.
Yep.
And then if you go to draft order, edit draft order in the middle, right there. Yep. Let's see what we get. All right, so we got all our teams right here, and hit edit for me, Kadeem. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the randomize button. How many times we're gonna hit this randomize button? Jalen Ramsey times 5 times. We're gonna hit it randomize. Hold on, don't hit it yet. We're gonna hit it 5 times, and what this is gonna do is gonna randomize the order to find out who drafts where this Sunday for the Go Time Dolphins Fantasy Football League. And the draft is at 1:00 Eastern Time, Sunday, September 3rd. So everyone who is participating in the Go Time Dolphins Fantasy Football League, we appreciate y'all. This is the official draft order, and you guys can get your mocks in, and we're gonna see what we get. Go ahead, Kadeem. And I gotta let Kadeem do it, because if I do end up first or second, I don't want no discrepancies. So go ahead and hit that randomized order for us. Jalen Ramsey times. Let's see what we get.
So that's once. That is twice. Oh, do you know what? Hold on.
What?
So I've done it twice.
Yeah.
So, some music. Let's have some music. 4 times.
I would like to see my name jump up there, though.
And finally, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, randomized order.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think your name moves.
It did. I went from like 8 to 9. So if you could, if everyone that's in the draft, if you see your name there, that's where you're drafting. That's where you pick at this Sunday. Sherrod Steve, friend of the podcast, or Go Time Dolphins affiliate, Sherrod Steve is picking second. Go Time Dolphins affiliate, Josh Katzker from the Same Old Dolphin Show is picking 4th. And again, we'll have this next year as well. So if you missed out this year, you can play next year. We had a gang of teams last year. Hopefully we have a gang of teams next year. But hit save changes, Kadeem. And we appreciate everybody playing in the Go Time Dolphins Fantasy Football League this year.
Cool. That is done. Let's get rid of that.
Hey, didn't I tell you? I had no doubts about Alama Uluave making this practice squad.
You did. I think, and especially when other people started going as well, like Dan Feeney traded, it looked like not only would he make the practice squad, he was going to make the final 53 roster.
But I thought he was the next center up, in my opinion.
I think a lot of people are probably looking going, hey, you kind of took the mick, as we say in the UK, and kind of like getting rid of him and hoping to stash him on the practice squad. Because same way the Dolphins, obviously they picked up Tyler Croft, the tight end, but Elijah Higgins didn't make it around back to the practice squad. He's now in Arizona. So
Elijah Higgins was the most sought after waiver claim in the NFL, Kadeem. The most sought after waiver claim was Elijah Higgins, former 6th round pick for the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
We drafted him in the 6th round this year. We waived him, and I can't remember all the teams that hit him up, but I did have it here. He was. Oh, here it is, right here. 5 teams tried to claim him: the Cardinals, the Colts, the Titans, the Commanders, and the Packers. And the Cardinals ended up claiming him. So, or they put in a claim for him, and the Cardinals ended up claiming him. That's crazy to me though, Kadeem. Like, I thought he was a nice little looking prospect, but I didn't think he was gonna be like sought after like that.
I think it's happened a few years ago when the Dolphins drafted Curtis Weaver and then like cut him, hoping to put him in the practice squad. And I think the Browns picked him up, and it was like, well, that was silly of you, wasn't it? And it's like lessons haven't been learned there. I think this is what happens when I saw it on social media, and I agree with it. It's what happens when you carry like 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, and like 10 DBs and like 6 wide receivers. When you kind of, given how most NFL rosters look, when you kind of have one extra position, if that makes sense, you have to make sacrifices elsewhere. And, you know, if the Dolphins, like a somewhat normal team, only carry 2 quarterbacks, or maybe 4 running backs, then you probably have an extra tight end and all that kind of stuff. So it's unfortunate that Higgins didn't manage to come back. Listen, maybe he doesn't make it in Arizona, and no one knows how to get him, and the Dolphins get him back. Maybe if Jim Irsay wasn't such a, let's say, colorful character, you could have traded Higgins and maybe a second and something else for Jonathan Taylor instead of what the coach tried to ask for.
What did the coach try to ask for, Kadeem? Enlighten us.
So Chris Grier alluded to it via a question, but it's also come out. Shout out to King of Finland. I believe he had it first, and it's kind of been verified by others. But the players in different trade scenarios the coach wanted were Jalen Waddle, Christian Wilkins, friend of the podcast Robert Hunt. And in those trade talks, not only did they want, say, like a Jalen Waddle, they also wanted like a 2nd round pick and more. And what everyone was rightfully pointing out was that Jim Irsay openly came out and said, we don't value the running back position, so we're not going to pay Jonathan Taylor, but you value it enough to try and get Jalen Waddle or a Christian Wilkins or a friend of the podcast Robert Hunt. It doesn't make sense. You can't say we don't value something and then try and get maximum value. That's like me saying, you know what, Charlie? See this iPhone? Nah, I'm not about that life. It can go. And you saying, hey, okay, I'll give you $20. It's a used iPhone. And I'm like, do you know what? Yep. Give me your house, your car, and $1,000. I'm like, what? No, no. So yeah, Chris Grier basically said that no one's getting Jalen Waddle. And he also said, or I'm paraphrasing, but they tried to get, Jonathan Taylor. It didn't work out, and he likes the running back room that they have. Yeah.
So Chris Grier had a media availability yesterday, and he came in and kind of cleared a little bit up. And I kind of think he kind of talked out both sides of his neck, if I'm going to be honest with you, because he said, well, there was no formal offer. He said, I know Chris Ballard, the GM for the Indianapolis Colts. Me and Chris Ballard are friends, Chris and Chris, the not really the CNC machine. And he said, there was no formal offer. And what I took from that was there was no offer sent through to the NFL that was an official offer from the Miami Dolphins to the Indianapolis Colts, waiting for the Colts approval. That's what I took from there was no formal offer when Chris Grier said that. However, he did say, there were some things that were discussed. You know what I'm saying? It was just floated out there. And in those discussions, this is where the public would take assumption that, well, this is when Chris Ballard was on the juice that Irsay was on, right? And I'm no body language expert, Kadeem, but I want to say it was Joe Schad that kind of called out Chris Grier. He's like, well, did Jalen Waddle come out of Chris Ballard's mouth? And Chris Grier kind of like laughed it off, and he was like, yo, you kind of a dog at this stuff. Like, kind of like, how'd you know that? Like, where did you get that from? You know what I'm saying? I've only told one person that happened, so that means it probably came from the other side. You know what I'm saying? So Chris Grier was kind of shocked that someone actually had the scoop or the skinny on this situation. So
sorry, the what?
The scoop.
No,
or the skinny. Like, who's got the skinny or who's got the scoop?
Nah, skinny. Never heard that one before.
What y'all say?
The scoop.
The scoop?
Yeah.
We call it the scoop or the skinny.
Let us know in the comments. Have you heard the skinny? Because
what's the scoop or what's the skinny? There's probably another one. What's the I don't know. There's probably a couple of them. But I've heard scoop, I've heard skinny before. But listen, if Jim Irsay and the Indianapolis Colts didn't say, look, we'll give you Jonathan Taylor, but we want Jalen Waddle, Jimmy Butler, Lionel Messi,
Dwayne Wade, LeBron James.
We want the Mount Rushmore of the Miami Heat. We want Pat Riley. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could have worked something out. But no, you know what I'm saying? So they really don't want to trade Jonathan Taylor. It's clear. They wanted everything under the sun. What up,
What's
Rob?
up, Rob? And yeah, what's the 411? That's a good one.
I've heard 411, but
I've heard that.
It was kind of dated. I didn't want to say it.
What's the intel?
What's
another good one?
What's the scoop? What's the skinny? What's the? I don't know. You know, something that I say often is, what's the word? What's the word, Kadeem?
This is a good one from JML. The lowdown.
Ah,
that was a good one. Yeah, what's the lowdown?
We're getting somewhere.
Can you imagine that conversation between Chris Ballard and Chris Grier when Jalen Waddle's name comes up? Because in my mind, and the conversation's over the phone, so it's like, okay, what's the latest? What are you thinking about Jonathan Taylor? And then Chris Ballard goes, Jay, and the moment I hear the J, nah, phone down. Like, you're not even getting the Jalen out. The moment I hear J, nah, conversation.
It could have been Jalen Ramsey, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, and it would have been nah. Either way, whichever one you were going, you're not getting neither one of them. And that's exactly what Chris Grier said. He said, no matter who calls us for what, Jalen Waddle wouldn't be available to anyone. Straight up. But Sherrod Steve hit my phone. And also LB. And, we like to do the hypothetical thing. If the Colts said, okay, they're not smoking the hard stuff, and they just went a little lighter and said, we still smoking something, but we just took our foot off the gas. Here's Jonathan Taylor and a second-round pick for Jalen Waddle. Are you doing it?
No.
Keep in mind, that second-round pick is probably going to be a top 40 pick because they're probably going to be trash this year. What if they said, we'll give you Jonathan Taylor and a first-round pick, which could easily be a top 10, top 5, top 7? Would you do it?
That would make me think. But
it would.
But I still think, because the thing is as well is that, yeah, you get a first round pick and yeah, you get Jonathan Taylor, but I've got to pay Jonathan Taylor, and I don't have to pay I don't have to pay Jalen Waddle for another 3 years, and our cap isn't the best right now as well. So it's like you basically get a top, let's say 15 wide receiver in the NFL on a rookie contract, and you get to get rid of a player who doesn't want to be there no more. Like, and this isn't me bashing Jonathan Taylor, but he's someone who has had a few injuries. So it's not like he's completely healthy. So, and Waddle's had injuries as well, but Waddle's injuries don't really make him miss time. So, no. Listen, if you're going to ask for Jalen Waddle or Robert Hunt, then I'm going to start asking for Quentin Nelson. Like, if we're doing dumb stuff, I'm going to do dumb stuff as well. So it's like, okay, do you know what? Yeah, give me, Quentin Nelson and your first round pick for the next 3 years. Like, if we're just doing stupid stuff, like those dumb Madden trades, then I can do that as well. I can be petty and stupid.
Bro, that was one of the fantasy football trades that's never gonna get accepted, bro. You know I'm not gonna accept this. Why you even sent it over? Listen, I think, bro, there's nothing I would do today that would move Jalen Waddle. There's nothing I would do today. They could say we'll give you 2 1s today for Jalen Waddle. I'm not doing it because this is our Super Bowl window, Kadeem. Like, if we don't win a Super Bowl this year or next year, it's gonna get very bad in Miami and the media and the conversation. Is the coach the right coach for the Dolphins? Is Chris Grier's job at fault? Should Stephen Ross share the team? We get some of that now. You know what I'm saying? So if we don't win a Super Bowl while we went all in, everything's gonna come back. So of course, you giving up Jalen Waddle, which is probably one of your top 5 most important pieces in this Super Bowl window. And all respect to Pat McAfee. I love Pat McAfee. Like, that's one of my favorite shows out right now. He's on the Indianapolis Juice too, because he was acting too. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, y'all boys tripping if you thought Jalen Waddle for Jonathan Taylor was equivalent to each other. Like, it's not happening. So yeah. Now, if we won the Super Bowl this year, Kadeem, and we have the parade, and it's February, and the coach still say this same exact thing. Oh, we'll give you Jonathan Taylor for Jalen Waddle and threw in like a 1. Like, oh yeah, now it's a whole different story. We won the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So now we're thinking about the future even more. But we don't start thinking about the future too much until we get that Super Bowl ring. And the reason why I said too much is because Chris Grier said in the same press conference said, when you build a team, you always look long-term and short-term. We're always aggressive to do it, but we got to be mindful. Those were Chris Grier's words in the same press conference. And it's like, yeah, we want to do it. We want to do something. He didn't just unequivocally deny that they were talking to the coach. Like, there's where there's smoke, there's a fire. Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, they're looking for the future of our running back room. So yeah, you got to think long-term and short-term. But at that same time, shout out to Lee. Genuine question. You think we win in a Super Bowl with this O-line? It can be done. It's tough, but that's part of my point. Like, we just can't be up over here shuffling pieces around just because it sounds good, and we got to pick for and Jonathan Taylor for Jalen Waddle. Nah, I'm not here for that, bro. We need to win the Super Bowl. Then we can start thinking about, we have the foundation now, bro. We can't mess with the foundation. Jalen Waddle is a part of the foundation, and so is everybody else that they was in that report.
I think to answer that question, you can. I think the best way I would describe it is you can win a Super Bowl in spite of the defensive line. I don't think the Dolphins will win the Super Bowl because of the defensive line, if that makes sense. So can it be done? Yeah, strange things have happened. But we won't sit here in February going, this offensive, or in my opinion, we won't sit here in February going, this offensive line is the reason we won the Super Bowl. It might be a case of this snapping issue from Connor Williams is the reason we lost the Super Bowl. That's a lot more likely. But quick question before we talk about Mike McDaniel. Shout out to Liz. Good afternoon. It's evening for me. It's late.
What up, Liz?
And Giovanni says, "Spill the tea." That's another one as well. Spill the tea. I have 2 questions for you. The first is, you said if in February after we win the Super Bowl, they mentioned Jonathan Taylor for a Jalen Waddle. What if you took out Jalen Waddle and put in Tyreek Hill? That's the first question. The second question, and let me know in the comments, what players... So Chris Grier said that, no matter who calls, Jalen Waddle isn't going nowhere. What players are right now untradeable? No matter who calls, no matter what gets offered, within reason, they aren't going nowhere. Because obviously, Laramie Tunsil, you get a Laramie Tunsil trade offer for certain players, off you go. Thank you very much. You will understand it as well.
And you said within reason. That was the key right there, within reason. So I'll answer the second question first because it's a little more, it lines up better. Robert Hunt's not on the table. Yes, he's in the contract year, but we have a left-handed quarterback. and the right side of the line is already in flux. He is our right guard. He's solid. He will get extended. Robert Hunt cannot be traded for. We have to win now. So Robert Hunt is not. We can't put. I was going to throw a name out there, but I would throw no names out there because I don't want anyone to get ran over by the bus that I was just about to run them over with. But we just can't put anybody in that position. So Robert Hunt's untradeable. Obviously, bro, any other top 12 main players on the team are untradeable right now. Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, friend of the podcast, Javon Holland. I thought Xavier Howard out there. Xavier Howard is tradable. I'm just saying. But and there was a second part that you said, but you said it first. After the Super Bowl, let's say you win. Let's say we win then. Kadeem, everybody's tradable. Every single person on the team is tradable if you win the Super Bowl. But it comes with a caveat. When the Seahawks won that first Super Bowl, the Legion of Boom, and they looked like they were going back to back, and they were about to go back to back before our quarterback coach, Darrell Bevel, called a pass, the most high-risk pass in football on the last play of the game, they would have won 2 Super Bowls back to back. So the only thing better than a Super Bowl, Kadeem, is more Super Bowls. So yes, if you win the Super Bowl, everybody is tradable, but we have a chance to get as many bites at the apple within this 2 to 3 year window. And I would be mindful of who I would let go after the season if we won the Super Bowl. So yeah, everybody's tradable. Every single person on the team is tradable if you win the Super Bowl this year.
So evening to DB. Lee said yesterday that he'll trade. It's February, you win Super Bowl, he'll sort of cap immediately. So I somewhat disagree. If you win the Super Bowl, I don't think everyone's tradable. I think it becomes easier to trade certain people, but this team is still somewhat young. I think you win the Super Bowl, you can say to a Xavier Howard or Jalen Ramsey, one of the guys, you know what, guys, thank you very much. We just got an offer for you. Off you go. We mentioned it a few times. The likes of a Christian Wilkins, guys who won an extension, who hasn't really got done yet, say, you know what? Thank you very much. You've got a ring. Probably going to get even more money. You know, test free agency, all that kind of stuff. I think you keep that nucleus together. So I think you keep Holland, Phillips, Waddle. Like, to me, they're still untradeable. Chris Grier said that they will discuss Tua's contract after the season, essentially. I think that conversation becomes a lot more difficult on Miami's side because it's like, we got Super Bowl winning quarterback now. We need to sort this out.
Hold on, I like the way you just made me. You just hit me with the bus. Like, we just said these people are tradable. I didn't say I would trade them. Everybody's tradable, but I'm not trying to trade nobody like that.
But no, I'm not following the bus. I'm saying
I like the way you did that.
No, you said everyone tradable. I'm saying not everyone tradable. I'm not following. I used your words and made my own argument. So I'm just saying. Is there food here?
Listen to Kadeem. Is there food here? Like that's what time it is. That's what you think about, bro.
Listen, I heard the door go, and
we got a whole podcast going, and my co-host is turning around because what's that smell? Did I smell food?
Yeah,
like this guy.
It is 20-11, and I haven't eaten dinner yet. Like, it's mad. But again, I'm not going nowhere. I haven't like paused the podcast and say, back in 2 secs. Listen, we're live. This is the fun part about the thing. So no, listen, I did not throw you under the bus or whatever saying we want to use, throw you under a train, like whatever it is. I'm just saying, not everyone is tradable if we're in Super Bowl. It just makes certain conversations a lot easier.
Shout out to the Tua Foundation. I got this shirt from the Tua Foundation. Listen.
That's dope. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it got his it's kind of like a jersey, the shirt and the jersey. It has his name, Tonga Valo, on the back and a number But yeah, shout out to the Tua Foundation. Y'all check out the Tua Foundation. On running backs, the Miami Dolphins probably have the most running backs under contract in the NFL, which is 6. We have 5 halfbacks though. One of them just got extended. One of the running backs just got extended for a 3-year, $17 million contract. And Alec Ingold, shout out to Alec Ingold, lead the way, take us there. But another running back got put on IR, and Jeff Wilson Jr. So things are getting sorted out, Kadeem. We knew something was afoot. Like, yo, what is going on here? You ain't never seen 5 halfbacks, 6 running backs, 5 halfbacks going into the season. We never seen it. So I think I seen it one time in New England, like 8 years ago. Because they had like 3 receivers, so they dressed like 7 running backs. It was the wildest looking thing ever. So Jeff Wilson Jr. goes on IR for a minimum. Appreciate it, Tim. For a minimum of 4 games. Jeff Wilson's out of there. The Dolphins bring in Darrington Evans, put him on the practice squad. Notable running back free agents: Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon on the practice squad in Baltimore, Kenyon Drake, James Robinson, and Trey Sermon. Shout out to Trey Sermon. Dolphins bring in Darrington Evans. I think they're happy with the running back room, Kadeem. I don't think anyone's coming. No one else is coming. No Kareem Hunt, no Leonard Fournette, none of these boys. Melvin Gordon, Kenyon Drake, none of the boys is coming. And even with the running backs that we have available in Mostert and A-Chain and Chris Brooks and Ahmed, I still think we're straight, bro. I still think we're ready to go for the next 5 weeks. And like, we're good with these running backs. What do you think?
So shout out to Josina Anderson. She said 10 minutes ago, I'm told both the Dolphins and Packers were both willing to give running back Jonathan Taylor a contract that placed him among the highest paid running backs in the NFL entering the season. I personally think the reason they didn't pick up a Kareem Hunt or someone or a more recognizable name running back, no offense to anyone else, we've got at the moment. I think Jonathan Taylor's still on the table.
Still on the table. Let him know, co-host.
And I think if you bring in a Kareem Hunt, 1, you can't touch him on the practice squad. 2, Kareem Hunt will come in saying, yo, I want meaningful snaps. I want them to run the ball.
And $3 million.
Yeah. And the Dolphins are like, nah, because we still have our eyes elsewhere. So what, and especially, I'll say, I'm about to get to it now. Mike McDaniel and the way he worded the Jeff Wilson question situation was very interesting. Basically, he said, and let's have a look at our chat. That's the wrong chat, Kadeem. Mike McDaniel essentially said that it was midsection injury compounded by some finger issues. Shout out to Jeff Wilson, he knows about the finger issues. We made the assessment.
As Kadeem says that, throwing his broken fingers into the camera that's wrapped up. They're taped together, but go ahead.
We made the assessment. He couldn't protect himself and couldn't be himself the way we know him to be. I wouldn't be surprised if he would make a return this season. He will let his body tell us. I wouldn't be surprised if he would make a return this season. That sounds like Will Fuller all over again. Maybe it's Mike McDaniel just, not really saying much, but if Jeff Wilson is that hurt that he might miss the entire season, you 100% go and get Jonathan Taylor. If Jeff Wilson is on PUP list, so he misses 4 weeks and might return after that, you go and get Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, you don't get a Kareem Hunt, you don't get Leonard Fournette. You like the running back room you have at the moment. You get someone who can potentially step in if need be until you go and get Jonathan Taylor. Shout out to Giovanni, says Alec is tough as nails. Shout out to Lee Connolly. Ingold executes his offensive scheme so well. If only had a tight end with his traits. And then a question. DB asked, which backs do you think is going to be dressed on game day? And I assume that's game day 1.
I mean, yeah, because you're not going to dress off 5 halfbacks. So here's the thing. I think it's safe, Kadeem. It's fair to say if Myles Gaskin would have cleared waivers, he would be on our practice squad. Fair to say. And that means we would still have 6 running backs or 7 running backs. There's more than just Jeff Wilson Jr. going on IR. There's still something else going on. You still don't keep all these running backs because Jeff Wilson Jr. is hurt.
I think also Devon A-Chain might not be ready for week 1.
Right. I understand that. He got a shoulder. Here's my thing. I think you're 100% on the money for the first time ever, Kadeem, because you be all over the place. But I think you're on the money with this one. Jonathan Taylor is still on the table. And that's why you have so many running backs, because there's going to be a running back or 2 that goes back in this trade to Indianapolis. You mentioned Green Bay is still was the mystery team that was in the picture. AJ Dillon is in a contract season. Aaron Jones has 2 years on his contract left, unless there's some reconstruction contract that makes him available this year. I'm not sure. But you would imagine one of those 2 running backs go to Indianapolis if Jonathan Taylor is traded, whether it's Aaron Jones or AJ Dillon. So I wonder what was in the pipe when they were talking to Green Bay. You know what I'm saying? We want Lambeau Field. We want AJ Dillon. We want the Brett Favre statue. I don't know what they were trading for Green Bay, but I gotta imagine it had to be AJ Dillon or Aaron Jones, along with picks, because they're on it in India. Indy got the pack. You feel me? So that Indy pack or that coat pack, however the kids would say it these days. So Jonathan Taylor's still on the table. That's why we have so many running backs, and that's why I'm not worried about whatever the running back situation is for the Miami Dolphins in the weeks going forward. And to answer DB's question, I'm going to say 3 running backs will be dressed every single week. And unlike Kadeem, I think A-Chain's dressed first week. I think he's ready week 1. I think Mostert, A-Chain, and Ahmed are the 3 running backs that are going to be dressed week 1. And if A-Chain isn't dressed, I think they need to consider, let's throw him on IR too and activate Chris Brooks. So the Dolphins have options, and the reason they have options is because a couple of these running backs are going to be playing in the Midwest in a few weeks. So let's go on to the other side of this. Jonathan Taylor was put on the PUP list, so he can't play until week 5. So Halloween is the trade deadline. So in between Halloween and week 5, you're going to see some things happen. Actually, the Dolphins could trade for him right now. Any team could trade for Jonathan Taylor right now, but he cannot play until week 5. So it's an interesting conundrum, but this is where we are. And I still think Jonathan Taylor gets moved, because the only alternative to Jonathan Taylor not being moved or traded before Halloween is the Colts end up with him in this offseason, and they have to now think, are we going to let him walk for free, or are we going to tag him and try to do the same exact dance next season? And if I'm the Colts, I'm just going to try to not smoke that pack and get what I can get for him.
So Liz says, I believe in my Dolphins. It will either be 14-3 division champs, Super Bowl winner, or 17-0 division champs, Super Bowl winner. I'm fine with both. I'm completely fine with both. I agree with Lee on this one. Lee says Mostert, Ahmed, and Brooks. I think those will be the 3 who dress next week. Giovanni says, I do find that theory have merit, but a little of me thinks it's a play with Bill Belichick's head, because he has gone on record and say he's prepared for all scenarios on the opposite roster. Shout out to Carl. He says, what's good, Fins fam? And a question from earlier, Talibah TV says, what did you order? I got my food right next to me. Are you interested in seeing my food?
What did you get, bro?
So, if you're listening on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, then you won't be able to see this. If you're either in the live, so I've got Dixie Chicken. You ever heard of Dixie Chicken?
Never heard of it.
It's like the Roadman's KFC, basically. Oh, look at that. I've got a chicken burger, hot wings, and chips. This is going to go down so well.
So Kadeem, I know there's something that we call biscuits. You guys call scones. What is a scone, Kadeem?
So a scone is like some kind of baked good, I guess. Like we have. So what is a scone? It's round, somewhat.
It's like bread.
Yeah, but
It's a round piece of bread that you. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we put like butter or jam on it, and in England, it's very. I wouldn't say it's very posh, but like you don't have it every single day. Like you kind of, like, oh, we have some scones today, or some people call it scones.
Yeah, so we call those biscuits. And some of our food chains over here in the States have some really good biscuits. And I think what y'all call biscuits are actually cookies. I don't know why y'all call cookies biscuits, but okay.
So I've got some chocolate flavored biscuits right next to me. And
bro, how you pull cookies out of nowhere and you smell food when it walk out the door, like when it walked in the door? That's crazy, bro.
So this is a BN biscuit, really popular in the 90s. Yeah, if you know about BNs, let me know in the comments. Like they are old school.
That Popeyes biscuit is definitely a biscuit. So I don't want no pressure with nobody. Hey, make sure you have something to drink with that Popeye biscuit, or else you might not survive it.
Got my drink as well, strawberry Miranda. You know what? When you're next to London, I'm gonna take you to get some Dixie. But yeah, loads of. So Liz said curry. I haven't had a curry in ages, but I might have a curry next week. Talibah says, "Oh, I might order that tomorrow." She knows about the Dixie chicken. Liz says, "Oh man, now I want a chicken burger." Rob says, "Scones are what biscuits are called in the USA." That obviously you've got Talibah's comment. Charlie, that Popeye's biscuit isn't a biscuit.
It is a biscuit.
Agree.
It is a biscuit, and it's the only biscuit if you ask certain people. Or the Red Lobster biscuit.
No, I want lobster as well. DB said you hit the nail on the head. Explains why Grier was buttering up the Colts GM yesterday. Carl says we really need to get you both aqua and orange headsets. This is my gaming headset. Like this, is just elite. Giovanni says, "Oh my god, be careful with your cholesterol." I did have the same thing yesterday. I'm not gonna lie. Rob says, "No, we call cookies and biscuits biscuits." Very true. Liz says, "Oh, those are cute." Moya's got a run. Moya, we'll speak to you soon. Have a good one.
Appreciate you,
and
bro.
Then Hannah Montana asks, "Who you having curry with?" Myself, if I have to. But so we're in Scotland next weekend for my best friend's wedding. So
Scotland.
maybe we have a
Scotland.
That's not even a Scottish accent. Like that was
only thing I know from Scotland is Paul Craig. He's a UFC fighter.
That's a very good Scottish accent.
Thank you.
Drew McIntyre. You must know Roddy Piper, the former.
He was Scottish. He wore a kilt.
He wore a kilt, yeah. I tried the yellow curry, but it was still too spicy for me. It was just good.
Hold on, let's get back into this real quick because I wanted to bring this up.
Of course.
On this side of bonus time. Former Arizona Cardinals head coach Steve Wilkes testified that a team executive gave him a burner phone to communicate with former GM Steve Keim under orders from owner Michael Bidwell during Keim's suspension. For those who don't know, Steve Keim was the former GM for the Arizona Cardinals, and Steve Keim got suspended for DUI. And I think there was like more than one offense of he had a couple violations. And I don't know if it was 2 DUIs, but it was a couple violations as a GM. And while he was away, the head coach claims that he was given a burner phone to communicate with Steve Keim, and Bidwell, the owner, and the other executives communicated with Keim throughout his suspension for drunken driving, including while the Cardinals negotiated a 3-year contract for running back David Johnson. Shout out to David Johnson. He won my fantasy football league for me. I appreciate you. Kadeem, I need to see a pick taken away from the Cardinals. I need to see some type of violation where the Cardinals get a draft pick taken away for this. It don't have to be the first pick, but it would be really funny because they have their own first pick and they have the Texans' first pick. And their first pick is going to be first overall because they are trash. They might not win a game this year. Arizona might not win a game this year. Just expect to see Arizona games in the Patreon version of Easy Money because we're going to get this money off the Arizona Cardinals. And then they have the Texans pick. So I expect one of these picks to be taken from Arizona, whether it's the first or second or something. They violate it, and you can't just have burner phones doing the dirt behind the scenes, bro.
It's funny. Someone, I think it might be ESPN, were talking about the Cardinals and how they weren't tanking, they were positioning, which when the Dolphins were getting rid of talent in that Brian Flores first year, and everyone was like, this is an outrage, they're tanking, you must take away picks. Silence when the Cardinals do it. And it seems like it's silence when the Cardinals just do whatever they want and get away with it. So, but anyway, this isn't Go Time Cardinals or Go Time Arizona. It's Go Time Dolphins. I'm not going to do the whole intro thing, that Charlie's thing. But if you're having it live,
and he can't do it, but it's okay. And even though it's right there at the top of the screen, he still can't do it. That's wild to me.
If you're having it live and you haven't already, drop a like, share the video, tell all your friends, hey, these guys are live, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. And while you're there, if you're listening on Twitter, drop it a heart. Again, retweet it. If you haven't already, follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Patreon. We've got a lot coming up on Patreon. Obviously, as mentioned, the Easy Money stuff. If you want a copy of Madden 24, it's a Patreon-only giveaway. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very, very interesting few weeks, to say the least, and that's not just because of the start of this season.
Hey, you must come over to bonus time because we're going to talk about the greatest quarterback ever, Joe Montana, saying Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback ever. Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive, test negative. For Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time.
Very, very quickly. Great question, Rob. We'll try to be back after the break. He is here. He didn't leave us this time.
I'm in the bed. I was here last time. I was just camouflage.
Sure. Carl says the league has against us. The undefeated season carries more weight than we think. I have another card. A card coming. And I legit don't know what's in this. Shout out to the winners of our last two giveaways, the card giveaways. They are on the way. My dad is flying out to New York for a funeral. He has the cards with him. He's going to ship them from the US. They should be with you hopefully before the season starts. I don't know what the US post office is like, so I'm fingers crossed they are with you as soon as possible. While we start talking about Dan Marino and Joe Montana, I'm also going to open this and see what card is in it because I legit cannot remember what I have.
Can you put it on mute when you unwrap this thing, please? Because last time you was like,
this one isn't as loud unless I do this.
I think it's a Jalen Waddle card. So Joe Montana, 4-time Super Bowl champion, Joe Montana, the Mount Rushmore Joe Montana, came out and said Dan Marino is the best quarterback ever. Especially in with the rules that they have now in the NFL where you can't hit quarterbacks and you can't hand check receivers and all the other good stuff. Dan Marino is the best quarterback ever. For a 4-time Super Bowl winning champion to say Dan Marino is the best quarterback ever. What do you make of that, Kareem? Because for me, for my dollar, Marino was always like number 5, maybe number 4, because he didn't have the hardware. But as a pure passer, he was like the best one ever. He's the best passer of the football, for sure. But when Joe Montana co-signs, who am I to deny Joe Montana?
I was unfortunate to have never seen like a full Dan Marino game as was happening, obviously. But from what I hear, from what I see, there's just things he's doing just like remarkable. The arm talent, the arm strength, as a pure passer, I can't argue with anyone who says he was the GOAT, the best of all time. I know people will look at certain players' achievements in terms of Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff, and that is a somewhat valid argument, but it's not tennis. It's not, 1v1. There's a whole team that, wins Super Bowls. The Patriots don't win the last ring if it wasn't for the Patriots defense. Let's be honest. No, that's a lie. That was the Seahawks game. The Patriots don't win the last win if that's the Falcons, if the Falcons don't just blow that game. But is what it is. Carl says everyone knows Marino would have a ring with the proper people around him. You build a perfect football team picking through everyone history. Marino is your quarterback every time. I think some people probably talk like a Brett Favre, Patrick Mahomes in there, but Marino would definitely be part of the conversation. Also, very quickly, I know what this card is. I don't know, and I want to reveal it with everyone else. So I'm going to. Oh, Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel for me was the first player that I really enjoyed watching in college. I remember the Johnny Manziel draft like it was yesterday. I probably became a Dolphins fan that year, but I was intrigued in Johnny Manziel. That's why I have a Johnny Manziel jersey card with a bit of his jersey there. So not Dolphins related, but this is a personal card for me. Shout out Johnny Manziel. He's got a documentary at the moment. A documentary.
He does have a documentary, and I will co-sign the thought of if Reggie Bush got his Heisman taken away, then Johnny Manziel need to get his Heisman taken away too. I'm just saying, I don't think neither one of them should have their Heisman taken away, and I just think Reggie Bush should have his Heisman back. That's all I'm really saying.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Dan Marino. Obviously, Manziel is no Dan Marino. Marino is just someone who, if you are a football fan and you haven't seen at the very least his highlights, I highly recommend you go and do that because he was something special. And every now and again you'll see certain throws of his on the timeline because it's just remarkable. Like I keep on saying the word remarkable, spectacular. He was like a video game player at times. Just like how had you done that? So yeah, shout out to Dan Marino, the GOAT. And great actor from what I've heard.
Yo, Marino, there's a Lay's commercial that is the best commercial out right now. I'm not even lying. It's Dan Marino, Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, and Randy Moss. It is the best commercial out right now. Dan Marino's in it. It's everything, man. So Montana, the greatest quarterback of all time, says Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback of all time. Gotta love it. Shout out to Oos.
I've got my Zach Thomas jersey on today. But Monday we will have our Jamaica themed shirts. So
we will
join us for that as we basically gear up for the start of the season, as we are 10 days away, I believe.
We are 10 days away from the Dolphins kicking off the ball. Listen, Go Time Dolphins Fantasy Football League this Sunday, the draft. And then we're going to have a Go Time Dolphins Fantasy Football episode coming up soon. So y'all lay around for it.
We shall see you on the next one. Peace.